going to take a moment here and request you to give a nice big round of applause for Mr. Shankar Bala and Bharat Vishwanath, the entire team of Fourth Dimension Media Solutions that has made this happen. Please invite all of you to join us on stage, light the lamp. Illuminating every corner it touches, ladies and gentlemen, South India's media shines with insight and influence. Group photo, please. Group photo. A quick group photo. Balamaha Kaitati Kondaduama. Big round of applause to the wonderful luminaries onto the stage. Present the mementos to our wonderful dignitaries on stage. May I please invite Mr. V.K.C. Razak, MD, India's V.K.C. to please join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, with a nice big round of applause. Thank you, sir, for joining us. To present it to Mr. Satish Kumar, Tea Chairman and Managing Director at Milky Mist Dairy, to please step forward and accept the memento. Thank you. Thank you so much. To Dr. Shanti Duresami, thank you for those encouraging words, ma'am. You've been a huge pillar of support. Thank you. To Dr. P.C. Duresami Avargal, thank you so much, Dushyant, for joining us. A big round of applause once again. Next up, I invite Mr. Atul Prabhu, Director of Product Management. That's Truecaller, to please join us here. With a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. To present it to Dushyant Sridhar. Thank you so very much. To felicitate Mr. M. Krishnan, Chairman and Managing Director, Shri Krishna Sweets. To do the honors, Atul. Thank you. And to felicitate Mr. Ramesh S. Ramakrishnan. Thank you. To felicitate Mr. Mohit Joshi. Thank you, Mr. Mohit, for joining us and making this a huge success with your presence. Next up, I invite on stage Mr. Balamurli, CEO Transworld Dubai, to felicitate, to honor Mr. Venkatesh Vijay Raghavan. Thank you. To honor Mr. Manigandan. Mr. Manohar, Director, Pudya Talamarai, and Dr. Rajamani, the CEO of Pudya Talamarai as well. One last picture with the wonderful dignitaries. Take center stage. Last time you didn't. We just want you in the center of the stage for a quick group photo. What a grand beginning for South India Media Summit 2025, ladies and gentlemen. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have amazing visionaries, leaders whose passion, creativity, and impacts make us all incredibly proud today. So yes, South Indian Media Summit 2025 launches with unstoppable energy. So may I invite on stage Mr. Anand, co-founder, Sweet Karam Coffee, Mr. Manigandan, founder and CMD Aditya Developers, Mr. Vijay Sunku, director, Parimal Mandir, Ms. Geeta Ramakrishnan, co-founder, Seven Doors to Heaven, and this session will be moderated by Mohit Joshi, CEO, Havas Media Network India. Ladies and gentlemen, with a nice, thunderous round of applause as we kickstart the very first session.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the South India Summit, something that Shankar, Bharat and team have been doing fabulously for the last so many years. So a big round of applause to them once again, please. Sitting here, we don't realize the amount of effort that goes behind creating it. And yesterday, a few of us were saying that it's become like an annual, the way you go to a temple once in a year, you have to go to Shankar's South India Summit. So it's like a tirth, as we call it. And we do it because of the love and relationship that we have with him. When he calls you, you cannot say no. So, having said that, I'm really humbled to be here, sitting with such, leaders in the industry, and the discussion that we are going to be doing is around decision making, something that you are doing practically every day, many, many times. And I want to understand from each one of you on the various nuances of decision making. Some say that you can't make decision based on fear, the possibility of what might happen. Some say the art of decision making includes the art of questioning. And everybody has a different way of decision making. So, and the way the environment has been changing, the fast changing business environment, I think decision making is also becoming so much more complex, because initially, if a decision could be taken for a longer period of time, today you have to decide on a daily basis. So I want to first understand what is decision making as per you guys. So Mr. Anand, as a founder of a fast scaling consumer brand, how do you define informed decision making in your day-to-day business?
Thanks, Mohit. First of all, I take a minute to thank Shankar and for this opportunity. It's an honor to be on the stage amidst all the stalwarts. So thank you so much, Shankar. Thanks, Mohit, for the opportunity. So as a startup, for us, time is gold. I think decision making to us is the balance of speed and thought. It's a fine balance between using logical reasoning and data, and with a leap of faith. So it's a clear balance between both. While the logic gives me the confidence, the belief gives the courage to take a decision. So it's very, very important for us. And I strongly believe that any decision that is not taken within the time has no value to it. And for us being in food industry, the trend keeps changing, not even previously it was quarter, it was months. Now it keeps changing every day, depends on weather, mood, and a lot of trends keeping changing day by day. So you need to be on the toes. By the time you take the decision, the trend would have already become outdated. So it's a fine balance between speed and thought.
Well said, sir. Well said. Sir, Vijay sir, and you have a legacy business, legacy category like agarbattis. Do you feel decision making is more about experience and intuition than data? While the gentleman here talked about data and said that everything has to be data driven. You, in your experience, how do you manage the balance between data and intuition?
See, for a new age companies like Sweet Karam Coffee, it would be much more easier to decide because of a new age being in place, and largely it is data driven decisions which will be easier for them to make. But for a legacy companies like us, which is 75-year-old company, we have a balance of old age theory and the new age Gen Z management. And what makes a big challenge for us is all these decades of our existence, the decision-making process was purely based on experience. Due to the unavailability of data in those times. But now the challenges are much more complex. The data is in place, and you have, on the other hand, the experience which we largely believed all along.
I want to understand your perspective, Mani sir. What is your perspective on this? How do you see this evolving in your industry, the mental health awareness, and do you have certain perspectives or some ways of assessing that for your people?
So it's not how strong you are physically, it's how strong you mentally decides how strong person you are. So in our organization also we face today many problems. Many youngsters are there. Once a small problem could not solve, they get stressed and they are very much agitated. So for this in our organization, we are maintaining a strong policy of making to learning and development. To HR, we are giving a strong training for making people to how to solve their problem, how to handle their problem, how to bring their problem to the management. Many people doesn't bring the problem to the management. Keeping the problem with them itself is causing a mental stress for them. So once the problem is solved, they're mentally very strong. Once the problem cannot be solved, they're mentally very weak. So in any organization, once we tell from lower employee to any higher employee to bring the problem or solve the problem, we train themselves, the mental stress goes very low. So that is a perspective of my side.
Okay, and this is a very important topic. I'll just, sorry.
And the culture also plays a vital role.
Absolutely. And there is a lot that has happened. So I'll come to you, ma'am, and I'll ask you about, while initially Women's Day, Valentine's Day, all those things used to, be a big buzz. Even today it is. Do you think that we are giving adequate importance to Mental Awareness Day the way it should be given? And why do you think Mental Awareness Day is still being underplayed? Because I personally feel it's being underplayed in the leadership, even otherwise. Your point of view on that?
So see, it's easy to celebrate Women's Day, for example. Yesterday was actually Daughter's Day. So all you have to do is, get roses, go out for dinner, and it's great. Whereas when you take mental awareness, it requires you to introspect and find out what your weaknesses are. And people in general, especially leaders, are a little averse to doing that. But having said that, I'm so happy to be in this medium where media is covering all this. We are spreading that mental health is equally important as physical health. And it's the awareness that helps at the end of the day.
A big round of applause, such prominent speakers, and more importantly, what an amazing session. Ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our next session, which will spotlight business strategies, contingency plans, and negotiating positions for the media and entertainment sector. And the panelists for this session are trailblazers, shaping business and innovation. And for this, I invite on stage Mr. Vivek Nabisan, Managing Director, Nabisan's Dairy Private Limited, Mr. Ganesh Ram, MD and Chief Executive Officer, MF Utilities, Mr. Shrikant Ramani, Director, SGR 777 Foods Private Limited, Mr. KB Balamurli, COO, Transworld Dubai, UAE, to please join us on stage. And we have Mr. Karthik Sharma, Group CEO, Omnicom Media Group, will be moderating this session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second session, and you know how fabulous it has been, so give them a nice big round of applause as we welcome them on stage.
What is your single most important priority as a leader, and how are you aligning your respective organizations to deliver on the expectations? Anyone can start and then build on each other.
Yeah. Hi, Karthik. Thank you for that question. So I think, jumping into your question, I think you just need to be relevant at this point of time. And, to be relevant, you need to embrace change. Right? So I was also attending a leadership program by the LMI Institute. And I was actually fascinated by one of their bylines, which said, challenge to change and changed to challenge, right? So I think I would just want to go by that. And to answer your second question on how do you align yourself, your organization for this, I think in one word, I think it's just going to be how it's preparation, right? And how well you're going to prepare your organization. Because I believe that, the will to succeed is important, but the will to prepare is vital. Thank you.
The better way is don't look at the market, right? So just be happy, and if the moment you're going to go to the market, obviously your BP will go up and all those stuff. So better to, but the one good thing is, I just want to ask the audience, as an industrialist, a lot of people are there. How many people have invested or put your money in mutual fund? This portion is not that, this portion is there.
Just one disclosure, I'm your customer. I use MF Utilities.
No, yeah. So what I'm saying is, I think the better way is to kind of stay invested. SIPs is one of the best. So if you look at India, so it's quite unique. Only 6 to 8% of the household income comes into mutual fund. Whereas in US, if you see, it's around 78%. So there is a huge gap between the Western country and what we have. But I think before COVID, it was not even 1%. Now it has gone to around 8%. I think things are moving on.
Actually, we don't, of course, profit is important. But when you prioritize the customers, when you prioritize governance, when you prioritize your brand, profit becomes a natural byproduct. Further dwelling into this, prioritizing customers. So we don't provide logistics services, but logistics solutions. So how does the customer and the customer's customer make profit? When you start thinking from that lens, you naturally become the preferred partner for the customer. From a governance perspective, ESG is something very, very important. Sustainability is the key. The customers, the employees of today and tomorrow, they are very much aware of what kind of product they are buying. I know my kids, they don't go to certain retail chains because the labor practices there are not fair. So this is how the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas are thinking. And talking about the brand image is most important because it's often the customers or your partners pay a premium if your brand value is really at the peak.
In terms of the product price per se. So innovation has to keep on happening. So for a company like ours, a recipe of a particular product, to be honest, has to be changed because of the palatability. What kind of food and the taste of the food which my seniors, my fathers or my grandfather had, which we have formulated a recipe, being a 70-year-old brand, would not be in today's generation or to the next generation. So it is not only the recipe per se, it involves all the packaging part, the innovation in terms of product offerings which we do, and also the convenience of the product in terms of the utility of the same product which is being handled. So what we do from our company point of view is we ensure that we retain the core functionality of any particular product per se, but we still keep on changing the finer nuances based on towards palatability. Yes, on doing that, what happens is there's a kind of a cost element which involves, but then the scale most of the time takes care of it. The sourcing strength takes care of it most of the time, and therefore big is always beautiful for us.
I also request Mr. John Nair, Chief Operating Officer Trinity, and Princey Roy from Huela Services to please join us here near the stage. Can you pose with the book? We can take a quick photo. Step forward. Let me go ahead and invite them onto the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Venkatesh Vijay Raghavan, MD and CEO, TTK Prestige Limited. Mr. VKC Razak, MD, India's VKC. Preeti Murthy, President, WPP Media. Uday Jadhav, Chief Executive Officer, Sakal Media Group. And this session will be moderated by Shibu Shivanandan, Founder and Managing Director, Pivot Rules. I invite the wonderful panel and the moderator onto the stage. And as always, this is how we'll welcome them with a big round of applause.
Any leader, I think he should have a vision and he should have a strategy. And vision without strategy or strategy without vision doesn't work. So these two things actually, what I would say that was very good in aligning all these things and very, very well. And all those big ideas he had, that any leader should have a big idea and he should have a where to execute that.
I've had the opportunity to work with many leaders, many entrepreneurial leaders who've shaped this country as well. See, I think there are two things. A leader, of course, needs to have a vision, but I think the vision needs to be a shared vision that energizes the team, energizes the people, right? And I think most leaders that I've seen succeed is when they're able to actually touch emotionally. You may have your own preferences, you may have your own ideas, but if you're not able to get the emotional connect with the team, energize them, right? And that, I think, is what I see has been the success hallmark of many of the leaders that I've seen. And that's something that I try to personally emulate as well. I think it's very important that you have a vision, the vision gets shared, and you make the people around you believe in that vision, because at the end of the day, it's not your success, it's their success.
My cousin brother, my Masi's son, okay. So when he was in college, he wanted a two-wheeler bike for Bombay college bike. So his father gave a 3-4 hour lecture on how he grew up near Trivandrum, how he used to do 2 buses, or he used to sometimes walk one and skip a bus so that he can save money. He said, your problem, your father didn't give you money. Okay, now his son, my brother was buying a car and upgrading his car. His son gave a good lecture on what are you going to do, save. I don't want your money, I want the car now. Why don't you, instead of this A car, why don't you buy a B car? So this is how the values shift. He says, don't keep for future. You live now, YOLO, FIFO, LOFO, all those jargons come out.
On the lighter note, though it is true, I like to say we in Maharashtra say we normally do 4 mistakes in our life, or we did 4 mistakes. One, we spend a lot of money in the marriages. Then after the marriage, we normally buy our good flat, and we took loan for the paying the EMIs. Once we get good flat, we buy car, and if money left, we buy LIC policy. These are the normal mistakes we do. But when I look or interact with the new generations, they are very asset light. They want to, as you mentioned, they don't want to buy a flat. They want to be staying in the rental house. They don't want to buy car. They would like to prefer use Uber or Ola. They don't fall into the long-term relationship. That is also scary. But they are looking for the very short-term relationship, convenient relationship. But I think it's completely changed. They also change their terminology. When I stress, sometimes I stress in the office, the Gen Z team comes to me and they ask me, are you stressed? When I say negative, they laugh at me. But we need to use their language also, that the terminology has completely changed. I think sometimes I face problem to deal with this new generation, new Gen Zs.
Vishantu medeva sadattvadiyaha dayataranga nuchara katakshaha Shrotreshu pumsam amritam ksharantim saraswatim samshrita kamadhenu. Hoi polloi, a very good afternoon to the audience that is gathered for the 6th season of this beautiful South India Media Summit. Every day, like any other day, today would have begun with a certain number. Wake up at 5 a.m., so the number 5 comes. Have breakfast at 6:30, 6:30 comes. What time did the session begin? 9:52. How many people were there? There were 3 panels, 5 members each, 4 plus 1. So everything is about number. How much ever we have liked, disliked, the prejudice that we have had for mathematics during school days or college days wouldn't stop us from appreciating the number that is credited as salary every month we see. So numbers is all that we have. So there's a very primary level, the way I take it. Every religion, every community has its own set of nice things to say. So from what I have bequeathed, from what I have learned, from what I have internalized are these teachings. So when we deal with Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma or the Vedic civilization, the way we call it, the way we perceive it, often the Western universities often call this religion polytheistic. We aren't polytheistic, we are polymorphic. We believe there is one truth that we see in various forms. So that we have always been a country that has relied and respected mathematics to the core. Even people who sit by the elevated platforms outside their traditional village houses called Tinnai are called Ganapati. Ganapati means people who calculate and recite Vedas. So Ganam means counting. And we have completely relied, else you wouldn't have beautiful temples constructed if people had no idea of what numbers were. So even our simple recipes are about 7-cup cake. So take this 1, take this 2, take this 3, take this 4. Right from food to mathematics to textiles to architecture, this country has relied so much on numbers.
Did you want this session to stop? There you go. That's how amazing it was. Thank you. And thank you for celebrating our wonderful culture and reminding all of us, from the food that we eat to the saris that we wear, there is so much richness in us that no other civilization, no other country can compete. Ladies and gentlemen, India is awesome. India is amazing. Thank you. Thank you so very much for reminding us about the richness of my beautiful country. Mohit Joshi, CEO of Havas Media Network India, a leading media agency in our country, and under his leadership, Havas Media Network India has evolved into an integrated powerhouse, aligning media, digital, data, technology and content, and yes, under one cohesive strategic vision. So can I invite Mr. Mohit Joshi onto the stage, affectionately known as Mojo, known for his Mojo selfies. Thank you. And also another stalwart joining this session. His multi-sector experience from FMCG to e-commerce to telecom broadcast gives him a broad view of consumer behavior, media trends, and what works where. He's known for pushing strategic, measured, and creative use of media, and not just run-of-the-mill campaigns. Put your hands together for Jaikishan Chapru, Head Media and Brand PR, ITC.
Thank you, Mohit, and thank you, Jaikishan, and thank you very, very much to my dear friend Shankar for organizing this magnificent South India Media Summit. At the start, I would like to say that I am very proud of my association with Fourth Dimension Media and with Shankar. And the way he puts the industry together, the way he's put all of you in one room is truly commendable. So I think we should have a round of applause for this fantastic man. And we're very proud of our association with Shankar. Thank you, Shankar. India Shining, was a slogan given in 2003-2004. Coined largely by Pramod Mahajan before the 2004 elections, which ended up being a bit of a flop show for the BJP in 2004. So now every time the opposition also says that they said India shining then, but the results were not shining for them. So when you talk about India shining, there's always a political angle to this. That, the government's trying to give a picture of India shining, but on the ground, things are not India shining. On the ground, things have not changed. On the ground, people are unhappy. And before every election in our country, there is a group of people who call themselves the limousine liberals. Some people from the media who have never gone outside Greater Kailash in Delhi. And before every election, they get onto their chartered planes, they travel around and they say, oh, we've seen the heat and dust of the country and things are not so good. This time I think BJP will lose. This time I think Rahul Baba will come as Prime Minister. So there's a context to that question. Now if I compare Mohit, it is not 10 years, it's actually therefore 21 years since that slogan of India Shining came. But things are vastly different today. In 2004, on the basis of very little achievement, there was a very big marketing claim that had been made by Pramod Mahajan, and he thought the country will get carried away with it, and unfortunately Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee gave him the freedom, do what you want kind of thing, and the BJP did not do well. The situation here is very different now. In 2004, yes, you had good growth. So that time also the argument is made, there was good growth then, but the BJP was voted out. There is good growth now, but it's not seeping onto the ground. The difference is in 2004, we had growth of about 6.7, 6.8%. Little marginally different from what it is now. But our inflation was technically 8.2%. Practically, if you would ask people, in 2004, it was almost in double digits of 10%. In this period, now we see the 2014 to 2024 period, I'm not talking of the present, the growth is 6.7, 6.8%. But the inflation is 5%, sometimes under 5%. So you cannot compare 2004 to 2025. I would say things are much better in Modi's India than it was in Vajpayee's India, in terms of for the people. Because Narendra Modi has done a lot of things which previous governments did not. You have a stable economic growth. You have GST. You have GST rationalization. You have demonetization. You have UPI. But most importantly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi understood on day one that the biggest problem in our country is we have a lot of money, it doesn't reach the people. So he did direct benefit transfer. So I feel there was an element of social reformation in what Narendra Modi was doing, and therefore I think he kept his focus on the domestic economy. It's not only a marketing focused campaign, and if you were to tell me therefore, shining then compared to India shining now, I would say it's too much to say India shining, but India is far better in 2025 than it was in 2024, which is the reason why when people say, oh, will what happened in Nepal happen in India, will what happened in Bangladesh happen in India? Absolutely not. Some political parties will want that to happen in our country. But that deep level of personal dissatisfaction which exists in some of our neighbors is not there in India today. So I hope that's a broad answer to your specific question.
Absolutely
I hope I did
perfect.
pretty Mohit.
A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I know you've been enjoying the sessions. Let me read the energy in the room. Over to you, Jackson sir.
Given that we have media experts sitting out here and marketeers sitting out here, uh, given the current situation, the media landscape, the shift in viewership patterns, shift from appointment viewing, shift to watching short duration content. I think there are a lot of things that are happening, and I think this is amongst one of the better panels to kind of pose certain questions. And so let's kind of hear from the experts.
All right, if I may go, I think one of the core philosophies that, most of the agencies, and I'm talking here about us specifically, I think there is a shift between channel budget allocation to audience budget allocation. I don't think there is anything that is not available on digital, yet TV has its own charm. I believe there are fixed ad slots, and the reach is culminating very well, but the measurement, the getting your cohorts right, everything works very well in digital. So for us, it's an integration of screen agnostic planning that's working well. And if I were to keep my answer very short, we would rather be present where the audience is. It can be digital outdoor, it can be TV, it can be print, it can be online video, it could be short form, it could be influencer. Selection is just a function of this.
Coming to an advertiser now. So Mr. Nangopal, if you can help us understand, with the changing consumption trends, how finely are you slicing your media spends?
With the increasing influence of digital and of course the changing consumer behavior, we have also recalibrated our media investment. So if you look at, there's an ATL and there's a BTL angle to it. And if you look at the ATL side, where earlier, it was 80-20 skewed towards traditional media, today that has increasingly moved to 40-60 for us, for our line of products. And within the digital stream itself, we all know that digital is a very fragmented universe. So we kind of focus more on search, online video, and social in that context. Now, 40% is moving towards the BTL side. So that's because, we have a lot of push categories. And so on-ground activation becomes important. So if you look at it at an overall pie, it's a 60-40 ratio between ATL and BTL. And within ATL, the construct and breakup that I given. And that's how we're looking at it.
When it comes to completely buying, we are not buying anything which is like, we buy and then we fly away, right? So we buy and we continue to buy today, tomorrow, and again future. So we are actually reaching out to a consumer, right? Earlier days also we were doing the same thing. The method of doing was different than today's era. That's the very basic element of, today's advantage. As I said that, technology helps us to, drive anything that is impossible to a possible in today's world. And from a mindset point of view, of course, the upskilling is definitely an important thing. So I keep telling my own people that, it's like when somebody goes into an examination, when they score, 99 or 99.9%, and very next day they are getting into a job. And it doesn't mean they've learned everything completely, right? Their zero-based learning starts from the day one of their work. That's how that whenever any medium, any newer tech opportunity comes, that's what actually makes us to learn and to be paced up with it so that, we can actually make use of those platforms, keeping the principles and ethical guidelines and the brand safe guidelines intact. We go and actually, deliver the return for the brands. So I don't think so much of difference, what we have been doing it, but now we are doing it in a better, passionate way, and there are a lot of competition exists around us. If you blink your eyes, and maybe you will get vanished from this place. So you have to be awake and keep delivering. Your own benchmark becomes your own target for tomorrow. That's what it is.
Yeah, because one of the key challenges that one would anticipate coming on digital is also the fact that if there's something new coming in, there's no benchmark. Whereas, on television or print, you would always have you will draw a parallel and have an analogy. On digital, it becomes completely difficult to kind of have a benchmark and then justify the rate that's coming in.
So my boss is sitting and laughing. When I said my own benchmark becomes my target, now he knows what target to give next year. He's sitting in the front seat and laughing.
You did also touch upon some interesting formats on your platform. So, two, three questions were just kind of floating in my head. One is, what are the typical challenges you face with advertisers? Second is, how does one measure success on a platform like Truecaller? And maybe if you could just give some use case examples, whether it's in examples from India or abroad, it would definitely help understand how we can kind of partner with Truecaller as a platform.
My answer might be more than 1 minute, but
I'm used to it.
okay. So, I mean, that's a tricky question about the challenges we face. I'm in a room full with advertisers. I better be diplomatic about this one. But I'll just say that challenges happen when one interacts, and I think there are ways that we have found to overcome and move on. Challenges can also drive a certain amount of innovation, and that's exactly what happened with Truecaller ads. We took real feedback from our partners and built out our whole full stack solution offering to them. I mean, I quoted some numbers earlier about the kind of reach and scale that we have. So we were typically known as being a brand, like a mass or a branding format, and at scale. We then built this out into more offerings for middle, your consideration buckets, where you have innovative plays other than display to kind of, tell a story, tell a brand story, something we could refer to as Truecaller Play. And then we do have the lower end of the funnel as well, where brands have clear performance KPIs, and we have different buy models that also facilitate this. And I have to thank the advertisers for actually pushing us in that direction. And now they have a whole portfolio that they can choose from.
Thank you to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be here in this esteemed, among this, esteemed audience. It's truly wonderful to be here. I work in Truecaller as the Director of Product Management. I lead the global ads product. So I and the team essentially obsess about creating ad products which not only fulfill the advertisers' objectives on the one hand, but also create really meaningful and impactful experiences for users. So Truecaller's mission is simple. The mission is to make communication safer, smarter, and more efficient. And if you think about it, this problem has never been as important, as ever before. 1 in every 3 phone calls that an average Indian receives is from outside the phone book. On an average, the Indian consumer receives 3 spam messages in a day. It is estimated that in just last year alone, upwards of 22,000 crores was lost in frauds and scams. So this is a large problem, and it's becoming even bigger, and Truecaller is on a mission to solve this. So if you think about it, trust is built very deeply into what Truecaller does, into how consumers use Truecaller on a daily basis, and how the kind of perception we're able to drive in the user's mind. And we do this with the help of our best-in-class solutions. The first is, of course, the caller ID, which helps you identify who's calling. We also have something called verified businesses, which is essentially to let you know if there are legitimate businesses trying to reach out to you. And then, of course, there's messaging or SMS. And now when we think about, talk about ads on Truecaller, like how does it all come together, right? there's a reason why more than 10,000 brands continue to work with Truecaller on the ad side on a continuous basis. And I spoke about trust. I think it goes back to trust. When you have that kind of a product, you have unparalleled reach. Like Althea spoke about this, in this panel. In the world, we have 450 million global users. In India, 300 million. And in South India, we have 75 million monthly active users. And it's not just that, it's also about the stickiness. So if you see our DAU to MAU ratio, it's upwards of 80%. That's right up there in terms of the best apps in the world. So not only do we have a very large base of users, they actually come back onto our app almost on a daily basis, which is phenomenal. And these numbers are right up there in terms of any benchmark that you can think of, in terms of the best media properties which are out there. So think of your IPL cricket season, think of your T20 World Cup, the numbers are right up there. But it's not just about reach, it's also about relevance. And relevance really has two parts to it. One is the fact that you're able to meaningfully cohort users. So for example, you're able to reach out to mothers, shoppers, travelers. And then there's also the context in which you're showing. And this is also one of the discussion points that came up in the last panel. So if you think about it, the attention span of users today is lower than ever. There are so many apps which are competing for attention, whether it's social, whether it's gaming, whether it's messaging. And here, Truecaller has a unique advantage. If you get a phone call, the attention level is at the highest. And it's also the most uncluttered screen. So it's relevance in terms of finding the right audience, but it's also relevance in terms of how your brand's message is placed on the screen in the context of the user. And when we do that, when you reach the relevant users in the relevant manner, we see that it drives results for businesses. Just 3 examples of how we've been able to drive impact among many.
And so we have a lovely panel here today who probably will decipher what CTV exactly means, what's the future of television, where is it going, and I hope we are able to create a thought-provoking session. So I'll start with a simple question and with the topic. So when you hear, CTV or future of television, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? And do you really believe this terminology, or you think it's just another fancy word from the ad tech world? So any one of you can answer.
Today, the homes our homes become a dual TV scenario, while the cable comes through to the television. The remote functions as multiple options. So you have a hybrid box which helps you to view the regular broadcast content. At the same time, you also have an internet connected options loaded with apps and other options, which is of our convenience. So one side it is appointment viewing, on the other side it is apna time, prime time. That's it.
Anybody else want to take this up?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon all. This is Krishnan here. I am from Asianet News. Princey, the good thing is that whether it is linear television or ZTV, end of the day, television exists. Television is going on. So like few years back, there was this narration that print is over, television is taken over, and now the recent past you have television is over, digital is taking over, right? But then the good news is that television in whatever format is there, it is going to continue. And as some of the previous things, the juice in television is still there, and it is only that we need to take it and drink. Whichever way it is, juice is there.
So do you think CTV is an evolved form of television?
Yes, of course. It's an evolved form of television. In both the format, linear TV and CTV, both is going to remain in the market, as Mr. Krishnan told. This is not going to vanish off for the time being. Because if the statistics, if you take in India, India is the largest country in the world, which has got 89% of the digital penetration happened. And that too in Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, it is keep on increasing. The government's initiatives and everything helps all these digital formats to sustain and more number of viewers are going to increase. Likely he told print is not going to be finished and television also is not going to be finished. Everything will be remaining and going much more larger. And the kind of innovations with the AI supported and data oriented systems which is generating in the market, which helps customers like us wanted to reach to the right targets in whichever market lying. And the electronic goods penetration, if you take in another format, recently one article came, almost 90% gas cylinder has been got penetrated into the rural market. Parallelly, all these things, electronic gadgets, is going to penetrate the Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, and that naturally will expand the scope of CTV as well as linear TVs also. So the future is much believed to be very strong.
Both are here to stay.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to add something, Sujata?
So I think, this is a change which is here to stay. If you look at the stats, CTV household has kind of doubled in last 2 years. We see that impact in ad spends as well. So I wouldn't say it is an evolution of television. It is a combination of television and digital because you're not watching the same content that you watch on television. It's a different content that you are watching on CTV. So for the larger question, which is basically, linear TV and CTV, whether, are we going to write the obituary of linear TV? That time is, way too far. We are such a large country that, there is going to be both format or both forms of television consumption. However, having said that, linear TV is what is kind of witnessing an accelerated growth.
Only suggestion is while pitching the client, both the teams have to come and pitch.
Both the TVs have to come and pitch.
Both the teams. That is the
Channel
channel
have
team
to come and pitch.
and the digital team.
Okay.
Together, if they come and pitch, client understanding will be, because digital team always complains about TV. TV's performance. And they confuse
He's
the
talking
branded.
He is talking blatant
Yes,
truth.
totally.
Okay.
No.
So if it's the same organization, suppose for example, it's a bigger agency who have both digital and TV team, they both have to pitch together, give a proper solution. Digital works for, digital may not be, it is a new medium. It takes its own time to settle down. Okay. So you should have a proposal, or the team should explain to the management or the brand managers there, 80% or 30% should be digital, 70% should be TV. Some kind of a combo. Should be a combo.
The way you're saying, I think it's a very ideal scenario, and I would love, I've been salesperson for a very long time, but unfortunately TV and the discussion around both the things is very different because TV generally is taken, people think awareness. The moment it comes to digital, it's all about performance. So the journey becomes very different, but yes, completely feedback taken that.
TV is a mass medium, no doubt. It doesn't address
You think digital is not becoming a mass medium?
It doesn't address the right TG. It is throw in the air, TV. But digital, you have that option.
You have the option,
You can hit whom you want to hit, or to that TG. So it should be a collaborative
Collaboration, absolutely. I totally agree.
Any innovations is always welcomed properly if it been explained by the media people to the clients. That's my only
Thank you
suggestion.
so much. I think for all the salespeople, ad salespeople, if there are any, you should take this feedback, both offline and online teams. And thank you so much. I think it was a wonderful session. And again, the future of television is very, very bright.
Wow, wonderful to hear that. A big round of applause.
Pankaj, I'll start off with you. With so many formats, short form, long form, podcasts, OTT, social, what's shaping the content priorities of media companies right now?
So the ideal scenario today for a strategic approach for agency or a content creator is to have the combination of short form, which will give you immediate traction, immediate engagement, and maybe higher brand awareness, and a combination of a long form content which will give you in-depth information about that product, which will give you brand visibility, brand equity and brand strength, and combination of these two will give the message in totality and create a good brand awareness and brand mileage for this. So the both content format, short form and long form, is relevant in today's world. And a strategic approach would be to use the combination of both in the right platform to the right target audience. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Narayanan, this question is to you. In a world where anyone can be a creator, how do professionals differentiate themselves?
We are in the land of Tamil Nadu, so I think to answer the question, I will actually have a Rajnikant dialogue which say, Yen vai, tani vai. It means it's like I have a differentiated way and that really stands out. I think to answer your question, professional really stands out. And the reason why they do it is because they have of the trust they create with their viewers. That's very important. As Arnab highlighted in the earlier session, it's all about authenticity. I think that's more important. Above all, it's like expertise and subject matter.
Trying to, get into the industry would find it very tough to cope up and create very quality content. So that could be a dilemma for a lot of people trying to enter in the era of, AI-powered content. So that said, also differentiation of content can become very, very, tricky. So for example, let's say in this room, you want to, have a dragon appear and, kind of swirl through from left to right. So you use some sort of, multimodal text prompting in one of these AI tools, right? So that would be the typical practice that most of the creators would kind of end up doing. So that prompting is the same whether you do it or I do it or someone from the audience does it. The prompt, the dragon, the type of dragon, all of it will be pretty much similar. And probably, there's no differentiation between what one could create versus the other. So to create very professional grade content will be extremely, extremely tricky because it's just a combination of not just, some sort of prompting, but it requires very advanced techniques. So similar to what our sort of companies or very specialized companies end up doing. So the way we would, just to summarize on the creative part, creators will find it very easy to start off with, but to create professional grade content, you need to, really work hard and or upskill to, kind of get there. Point one. Second, from a monetization perspective, because user-generated content has always been monetized, right? So what normal creators could, kind of end up doing is that their income levels can drop because what you kind of generate will be pretty much similar to, there's not great differentiation until there's a lot of time, effort, and upskill that's kind of, put in, and also investment in sort of tools and techniques, right? I think that is one part of the creator thing. Now coming to the publishers. So publisher has another dilemma, right? Because there's so much of content getting created, plethora of content getting created. I think for a UGC platform like YouTube, it doesn't make any difference, right? Because already the volume of content that's kind of getting uploaded on a daily basis is very, very high. So they will continue to, and audience of those particular platforms will continue to consume content based on the quality and or desire, liking, affinity towards the class of product, class of content and the like, right? But that said, at some level, because it could be overwhelming, because right now you'll have to script and shoot or at least put in some effort. So the creators are putting in some effort to create it, but with the proliferation of AI tools, what would happen is the amount of content would get multifold, right? It's probably going to be 100,000 times X of what it's kind of getting created now. So content platforms also will, kind of, my sense is, kind of arrive at some mechanism by which they want to moderate it because not every content is treated equally and not everything can be monetized in the same length and breadth. So I think there'll be some amount of, techniques that will be used by some of these well-established platforms to kind of regulate from a user-generated content perspective. But the likes of premium content platforms, be it the likes of Netflix, Prime, and so on and so forth, I think they will invest more in the right tools, techniques, and teams to kind of develop very premium, high-quality content which could, make an emotional and, narrative storytelling to their audience. So from an audience perspective, I think things are only going to get better because audience, regardless of whether it is human created or AI created, always want the best. So they won't end up creating, I mean, just because, there's a lot of content out there, it's not that the audience would say, hey, I will gobble up everything. They still have their, I think the quality bar will start increasing, and audience would, kind of basically, as the progress of this whole, kind of industry, kind of grows to the next stage, I think audience become more choosy and choosy. So that will probably have a flywheel effect, right? So audience only consume very, very high quality or content which they think they like, for whatever reason that could be, right? And so that creates a flywheel wherein, certain class of content is consumed by certain TG. And so the creators of those content again kind of go back to their drawing rooms and become more, active and, kind of put in more efforts to kind of generate quality content. So that way, I think the entire ecosystem, each stakeholder or each categorization has different attributes, and it kind of gets treated accordingly. Yeah, thanks.
I feel technology is essentially a GPS, but not the driver. I think, technology, it could be AI, it could be automation, it could be analytics, all of that could help you, chart out your route. It could help you optimize your journey. It could help you even, update you about the roadblocks that are upcoming. But it is eventually the human storyteller that is going to decide where to go and why. So I think that is something that we need to keep in mind, because the essence of content is essentially instinct, right? That's how we're humans, we live by our instinct. So I think that should not die.